Good morning, Deputy Director General, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, distinguished ambassadors and permanent representatives, dear delegates and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the opening ceremony of the 8th session of the governing body of the International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. I will deviate for one moment. Today is November 11th. In many parts of Europe, it's considered Armistice Day. In the United States, it is Veterans Day. And in Canada and Australia, it is Remembrance Day. May I ask you, please, to join me and stand for a moment of reflection of those who sacrificed and served in the past, and those who still suffer from conflict, oppression, and hunger. Thank you. Again, welcome. At this opening ceremony, we will hear from our special guests and keynote speaker on their perspectives and expectations of the international treaty. Their presence here this morning signifies the active engagement of all sectors in the treaty. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Ms. Maria Helena Semedo, the Deputy Director General of FAO, who will deliver opening remarks, setting the context for our meeting and update us on the work of FAO as it relates to the international treaty. I'm also very pleased to announce to you that after the opening statement by the Deputy Director General, His Excellency Mr. Singh Tomar, Minister of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare of India, and Her Excellency Teresa Bellanova, Minister of Agricultural, Food and Forestry Policies in Italy, will deliver addresses to the governing body. We also have with us this morning Sir Robert Watson, who is the former chair of the Intergovernmental Platform Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, IPBES, and former chair of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. He will deliver our keynote address. FAO Assistant Director General for Climate, Biodiversity, Land and Water, Mr. Rene Castro, as well as the Secretary of the FAO Commission on Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture, Ms. Irina Hoffman, are also with us. Please join me to welcome them, and I thank them for their presence. I would invite you, Deputy Director General, to deliver your opening remarks.
Thank you and good morning to all. Chairperson, Mrs. Christina Dawson, Honorable Singh Tomar, Minister of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare of India, Honorable Teresa Bellanova, Minister for Agriculture, Food and Forestry Policies of Italy, Kent Nadozi, Secretary of the International Treaty, members of the High Table, Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 8th session of the governing body of the FAO International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources, which celebrates its 15th anniversary. And we had Saturday a very nice celebration where various of our colleagues share with us the story of the negotiation of the treaty until it was approved 15 years ago. This anniversary honors the long history of domestication, use, and exchange of plant biodiversity that feeds our world. Crop genetic diversity is a treasure of human civilization, and we must make sure it remains a legacy for generations to come, as it is a public good that benefits the global community. Without a wide range of crops and their genetic resources, we cannot have quality nutrition for healthy and productive lives, adapt our crops to climate change, and achieve global sustainable development goals. The crux of the treaty, food security and biodiversity protection, are at the core of the Sustainable Development Goals and 2030 Agenda. The treaty, just to remind you, established a global system to provide farmers, plant breeders, and scientists with access to plant genetic material, ensures that benefits derived from the use of this genetic material are shared widely, especially with originating countries, and recognize the enormous contributions of farmers to the diversity of crops that feed the world. In February, FAO launched the State of the World's Biodiversity for Food and Agriculture, which highlights that biodiversity for food and agriculture is declining day by day. We are losing both wild and domesticated species. Against that alarming picture, we know that biodiversity is vital to improve agriculture and food production. Yet, the less we use, the most we lose. Over the course of history, humans utilize over 3,000 plant species. Today, we mostly depend on over 150 types, with just three crops, rice, wheat, and maize, providing over half of calories. To address the world's complex challenge, we must change this situation. And we can do so by strengthening the role of the treaty. Excellencies, thanks to our collective action during the last decade, under your leadership, we have made great strides to safeguard much of the crop's genetic diversity. Through its multilateral system, the treaty ensures access to important public gene banks around the globe, with over 5.4 million accessions to this gene pool since 2007. And its benefit sharing fund has supported over 1 million people in developing countries through agricultural projects. But there is more to do. Looking ahead, I would like to suggest actions we can take together to accelerate and build on these successes. As the flyer of this meeting reminds us, everything starts with a seed. First, we need to expand. We should optimize the crop genetic diversity that is still conserved in farmer fields and in gene banks to improve both farmers' livelihoods and diversify our diets. Second, diversify. We must move beyond staple food crops and increase investments in conservation, availability, and use of plant genetic resources of nutritious food, such as fruits, vegetables, and underutilized crops. Third, build capacity. We must improve access to scientific information and facilitate the transfer of technologies and expertise, particularly in developing countries. Fourth, work together. The treaty brings together farmers, scientists, government, civil society, and private sector, mixing traditional knowledge and advancing technology to develop the full potential of plant genetic diversity so that benefits can be shared by everyone. Fifth, strengthen policies. Countries must reinforce agriculture and development policies relevant to biodiversity. They should integrate the practical dimension of conservation and sustainable use promoted by the international treaty, including the implementation of farmers' rights at the national level. Finally, advocate. We need to leverage the work of the treaty and FAO's Commission on Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture in the international policy arena related to biodiversity, climate change, and sustainable development. Excellencies, honorable ministers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome the most recent members, Georgia and Mongolia. A big applause to them. Bringing the total number of contracting parties to 146. FAO is committed to increasing that number so that the treaty becomes a universal agreement in the near future. In the next biennium, FAO will strengthen its work with members to mainstream biodiversity into food and agriculture policies. This will also strengthen the treaty. FAO will encourage members to highlight the importance of food and agriculture in the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework to be adopted at the 15th Convention on Biological Diversity to take place in Kunming, China next year. As we celebrate the treaty 5th anniversary, let us be ambitious in addressing our global challenge and in setting new goals and perspectives. I am fully confident that in the spirit of collaboration and trust that always resonate in meetings of the treaty, you, the contracting parties, can revigorate and strengthen this international and very important instrument. I can assure you that you can count on FAO to continue supporting implementation of the international treaty. Wishing you a very successful deliberation. I thank you and wish you a very nice stay in Rome during this week. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Deputy Director General, and for taking so much time to address this session, and for renewing FAO's strong commitment to the international treaty. Thank you. We appreciate your continued presence with us here on the podium. Thank you. I would now like to invite His Excellency Mr. Singh Tomar, Minister of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare of India, to deliver his speech. Mr. Singh took office in May of this year. He has extensive experience in agriculture, rural development, and poverty alleviation. He also has a lengthy political career in government in many areas, and among the many portfolios he has held in his government. Excellency, you have the floor.
आज के इस अवसर पर मंच पर विराजमान एक्सीलेंसी टेरेसा वेलिनोवा जी, कुमारी क्रिश्चियन डासन, कुमारी मेरिया हेलेना सेमेडो, कुमारी मेरी हागा, श्री माइकल केलर, श्री फ्रांसिस डेस्प्रेस, कुमारी इराविल एडियो ओखट, श्री रॉबर्ट वाटसन, श्री इरेन हाफमैन, श्री कैंट नंडो जी और इस मौके पर उपस्थित सभी राष्ट्रों से इस बैठक में भाग लेने के लिए आए माननीय प्रतिनिधिगण, भाइयों बहनों, नमस्कार। मुझे ITPGRF ए के 8वें सत्र के शुभारंभ के अवसर पर आप सबसे मिलते हुए बहुत ही प्रसन्नता का अनुभव हो रहा है। विश्व की 18% जनसंख्या भारत में रहती है, जो कुल 1.3 बिलियन है। भारत युवा एवं ओजस्वी तथा उत्साही लोगों वाला देश है। मैं ऐसे देशों का प्रतिनिधित्व भी कर रहा हूं, जहां के सामाजिक आर्थिक जीवन की रीढ़ कृषि है, जहां फसल जैव विविधता जीवन का अभिन्न अंग है। मैं एक ऐसे देश से आता हूं, जिसकी जनता एवं किसानों ने फसल जेनेटिक संसाधनों को नया स्वरूप दिया है, जिससे विश्व में ब्रीडिंग का आधार सृजित हुआ है। मित्रों, आज जहां एक ओर जनसंख्या में वृद्धि हो रही है, वहीं दूसरी ओर कृषि योग्य भूमि में भी कमी आ रही है। जल की उपलब्धता में कमी के साथ साथ जैविक और अजैविक दबावों से उत्पादन में कमी आ रही है। इस समस्या में जलवायु परिवर्तन से और अधिक वृद्धि हुई है। इन चुनौतियों के बावजूद भी भारत ने देशवासियों के लिए खाद्य एवं पौष्टिक सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित की है। इसलिए स्पष्ट है कि खाद्य सुरक्षा की कीमत पर कोई भी समझौता संभव नहीं है। सभी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंचों को यह नहीं भूलना चाहिए कि खाद्य सर्वोच्च मौलिक अधिकार है। विकसित देशों में किसान उत्पादित खाद्य अधिकार को सुनिश्चित करने की आवश्यकता है। इससे कभी भी समझौता नहीं किया जा सकता। समाज ने आदिकाल से प्लांट जेनेटिक संसाधनों के अस्तित्व को अक्षुण्ण रखा है और अब यह उत्तरदायित्व हम सबका है। यह सर्वविदित है कि प्लांट जेनेटिक संसाधन प्रजनक ब्रीडिंग चुनौतियों के निदान का साधन है। यहाँ यह भी उल्लेखनीय है कि प्लांट जेनेटिक संसाधन आबादी बढ़ने के परिणाम स्वरूप होने वाले विनाश के कारण भी काफ़ी जोखिम में है। इनका संरक्षण मानव समाज की साझा जिम्मेवारी है। हम उनको संरक्षित करने, उनका दीर्घकालिक उपयोग सुनिश्चित करने के लिए सभी आधुनिक प्रौद्योगिकी के साथ साथ परंपरागत जानकारी का भी उपयोग करेंगे और हम सबको करना चाहिए। हम आज सूचना के युग में जी रहे हैं। प्रौद्योगिकी में आए दिन होने वाली प्रगति ने यह सुनिश्चित किया है कि सूचना ही शक्ति है। यह बात प्लांट ब्रीडिंग में भी लागू होती है। इसलिए मैं आप सबसे अनुरोध करता हूं कि इस समझौते के संदर्भ में और समझौते में शामिल करने के लिए क्यों के स्थान पर कैसे करना है संबंधी जेनेटिक सूचना के प्रभाव को गंभीरता से लेना चाहिए। भारत ने प्लांट जेनेटिक संसाधनों की संपदा को भी सभी देशों में शेयर करने की सदैव हिमायत की है। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय कृषिगत अनुसंधान, जीन बैंक तथा अन्य कृषि जीन बैंकों के परामर्शदात्री समूहों पर सरसरी नज़र डालने से ज्ञात होता है कि लगभग 10% जर्मप्लाज्म भारतीय मूल का है। मैं यह भी उल्लेख करना चाहता हूं कि प्लांट जेनेटिक संसाधनों को अनुसंधान और दीर्घकालिक उपयोग के लिए उपलब्ध कराया जाना चाहिए। तथापि यह भी उल्लेखनीय है कि इस प्रणाली से सृजित प्लांट जेनेटिक संसाधनों के व्यवसाय से प्राप्त होने वाला प्रत्येक डॉलर का उपयोग प्लांट जेनेटिक संसाधनों के संरक्षण के लिए किया जाना चाहिए। हमारे पास एक सक्रिय, विवेकपूर्ण, भविष्य उन्मुखी और नम्यता प्रधान कार्य व्यवस्था मौजूद है, जिससे निश्चित रूप से राष्ट्रीय परिदृश्य पर रचनात्मक परिवर्तन होंगे। हम भारत के किसानों, यहाँ के विभिन्न समुदायों, जनजातियों और विशेष रूप से महिलाओं के प्रति आभारी हैं, जिन्होंने समय व्यतीत होने के साथ साथ प्लांट जेनेटिक संसाधनों के चयन और संरक्षण में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका अदा की है। इसलिए यह हमारा दायित्व हो जाता है कि हम ऐसे व्यक्तियों और समुदायों को समझौते के विधिक और वित्तीय दायरे से बाहर रखें। इस संबंध में विशेष रूप से इसको संशोधित करने पर विचार किया जा रहा है। भारत बहुपक्षीय करारों से संबंधित प्रतिबद्धताओं के बारे में दृढ़ संकल्प होने के साथ साथ उसमें अगाध श्रद्धा रखता है। तथापि जब तक हम उत्तर और दक्षिण के बीच भेदभाव को समाप्त नहीं कर देंगे तथा इस समझौते के संस्थापकों और किसान समुदायों की अपेक्षाओं पर ध्यान नहीं देंगे, तब तक हम इस दिशा में सफलता प्राप्त नहीं कर सकते। भारत बौद्धिक संपदा अधिकार TREP करार के व्यापार संबंधी पक्षों की बाबत एक पक्ष है, जिसमें अनुच्छेद 27(3) खा 2 को प्रभावी प्रावधान के साथ साथ 2001 में पादप प्रजाति परीक्षण और किसान अधिकार PPV और FR अधिनियम पारित किया, ताकि अभिनव स्थिति भिन्नता, समरूपता, स्थिरता से संबंधित UPOB प्रक्रियाओं के साथ पादप प्रजनक और किसान अधिकार सामंजस्य स्थापित करने और पादप प्रजाति के प्रभावी संरक्षण के लिए एक सांविधिक प्राधिकरण की स्थापना की जा सके। PBV एंड FR अधिनियम 2001 के तहत किसानों को प्रजनक के रूप में मान्यता दी गई तथा वे इस बात के हकदार हैं कि उन्हें प्लांट जेनेटिक संसाधनों के संरक्षण, परिरक्षण और सुधार के क्षेत्र में उनके द्वारा किए गए प्रयासों के लिए मान्यता देने के साथ साथ पुरस्कृत भी किया जाए। इस अधिनियम के तहत किसानों को पंजीकृत प्रजातियों के लिए संबंधित जीनों का अंशदाता भी माना जाता है। ITPGFRA से संबंधित अनुच्छेद 9 के तहत किसानों के अधिकारों को देखा जाता है। भारत इससे संबंधित प्रावधानों का पूर्ण अनुपालना करता है तथा इन प्रावधानों को PPV एंड FR अधिनियम 2001 में इंगित किया गया है। अब तक 138 किसानों समुदायों को पादप जीनोम रक्षक पुरस्कार दिए गए हैं तथा यह कार्य आईटी पीजीएफआरए से संबंधित अनुच्छेद 2 खा की अनुपालना में किया गया है। इसके अलावा किसान पादप प्रजातियां जो कि पारंपरिक प्रजातियां हैं उनका संरक्षण भी पीपीवी एंड एफआर अधिनियम 2001 के तहत किया जाता है। भारत को पादप प्रजाति के संरक्षण के लिए लगभग 16,620 आवेदन प्राप्त हुए हैं, जिनमें से 10,920 लगभग 66% केवल किसानों से प्राप्त हुए हैं। इसके अलावा पीपीवी एंड एफआर प्राधिकरण में लगभग 3,631 प्रजातियों को पंजीकृत किया गया है, जिनमें 1,597 जो लगभग 44% किसानों से संबंधित है। पीपीवी एंड एफआर अधिनियम 2001 की धारा 39(1)(4) के तहत किसानों को यह अधिकार प्राप्त है कि पीपीवी एंड एफआर अधिनियम 2001 के तहत ब्रांड नेम को छोड़कर संरक्षित प्रजाति के बीजों सहित उनको बचाकर रखे और उनका इस्तेमाल करे, बोए, पुनः उनकी बुवाई करे, आदान प्रदान करे, आपस में बांटे और बेचे। मुझे जानकर खुशी हो रही है कि 2014 के दौरान इसके 7वें सत्र में अंतर्राष्ट्रीय समझौते से संबंधित शासी निकाय ने किसान अधिकारों के बारे में तदर्थ तकनीकी विशेषज्ञ समूह स्थापित करने का निर्णय लिया था, ताकि राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर संबंधित मामलों की सूची तैयार करने के साथ साथ किसानों के अधिकारों के बारे में संभाव्य विकल्प निर्धारित किए जा सकें। इसलिए पीपीवी एंड एफआर प्राधिकरण के प्रतिनिधियों में से एक को 2 सभापतियों में से एक सह सभापति के रूप में चुना गया था। मुझे विश्वास है कि इस विशेषज्ञ समूह द्वारा विकसित सूची के द्वारा कई संविधात्मक पक्षों के लिए यह संभव होगा कि वे किसान अधिकारों के क्रियान्वयन में सर्वोत्तम अभ्यासों को लागू करने के साथ साथ अपनी विधिक और राष्ट्रीय नीतियों में उपयुक्त रूप से कदम उठाएं। मुझे आज आप सबके बीच में यह प्रस्ताव रखते हुए भी बहुत प्रसन्नता हो रही है कि भारत आगामी गवर्निंग बॉडी की 9वीं बैठक 2021 दिल्ली में करने को तैयार है। आप सब इंडिया आइए, हम सब आपकी मेजबानी करेंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जय हिंद। जय हिंद।
Excellency, thank you so very much for those inspiring words. The treaty community is honored by your personal presence at this session. You have come a very long way, and for the Government of India's active engagement in the treaty. We will do our best throughout this session to meet your calls to action. We also thank you for the very generous offer to host the 9th session of the governing body in India. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite Her Excellency Teresa Belanova, Minister of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry Policies, to deliver her speech. As a young woman and a small farmer, Ms. Belanova devoted herself to fighting against exploitation and illegal employment of agricultural workers and to defending farmers' rights. Her complete commitment to fieldwork and her passion for social issues led her into public service, and she has since been involved in policy making at many levels of government, most recently as Undersecretary of State, then as Deputy Minister for Economic Development, before coming Minister for Agriculture, Food, and Forestry Policy. Excellency, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Signora Direttrice Generale Aggiunta della FAO, signor Ministro, signor Segretario del Trattato, signora Presidente, signore e signori, sono lieta di partecipare alla cerimonia inaugurale dell'8ª sessione dell'organo direttivo del Trattato internazionale sulle risorse fitogenetiche per l'alimentazione e l'agricoltura. Il governo italiano è orgoglioso e onorato di ospitare a Roma il polo agroalimentare delle Nazioni Unite, il segretario del trattato e l'8ª sessione del suo organo direttivo. Abbiamo davanti sfide globali che possiamo affrontare solo stando insieme e attraverso strumenti come questo trattato. Dobbiamo lavorare nel solco dell'Agenda 2030 per un mondo libero dalla fame, in cui tutti condividano equamente i benefici derivanti dagli sforzi per conservare, difendere la biodiversità anche attraverso la tutela dei semi. Oggi 4 colture assicurano il 60% delle calorie della popolazione mondiale e la crisi climatica mette a rischio ogni giorno la sopravvivenza di molte specie, compresa quella umana. Nei suoi 15 anni di vita il Trattato ha dato un grande contributo alla tutela e all'utilizzo sostenibile delle risorse genetiche. L'adesione di ben 146 Paesi provenienti da tutte le regioni del mondo mostra quanto interesse questo Trattato generi per i suoi benefici. L'Italia ha da sempre sostenuto le attività del Trattato, credendo fermamente nel ruolo che svolge nell'ambito degli obiettivi di sviluppo sostenibile in termini di contributo alla sicurezza alimentare, all'adattamento climatico e alle tutele delle risorse fitogenetiche per le future generazioni. In questi anni il Trattato ha consentito di raggiungere i molti obiettivi. Il primo su cui mi vorrei soffermare è il contributo al rafforzamento delle politiche nazionali e degli strumenti in materia dell'agrobiodiversità. A tale proposito vorrei condividere con voi il percorso fatto in Italia. L'adesione al Trattato ad aprile del 2004 ha favorito la consapevolezza dell'importanza delle risorse genetiche e ha funzionato come una leva per sviluppare politiche nazionali in materia di collezione, conservazione, uso sostenibile delle risorse, diritti degli agricoltori, sistema multilaterale e condivisione delle informazioni. 16 milioni di dollari sono stati investiti a livello nazionale per lo sviluppo di attività volte a salvaguardare e assicurare l'uso sostenibile delle risorse genetiche, in particolare quelle di origine locale. Si tratta di un'azione collettiva. Sono coinvolti in queste attività molte amministrazioni territoriali, istituzioni di ricerca, agricoltori, soggetti pubblici e privati. Nel corso degli anni, oltre 50.000 varietà vegetali appartenenti a oltre 200 colture agricole sono state collezionate e caratterizzate per favorirne l'utilizzo nei futuri programmi di sviluppo sostenibile. L'Italia si è impegnata a condividere con la comunità internazionale questo materiale e le relative informazioni attraverso banche dati nazionali, europee e globali. In conformità a quanto stabilito dal Trattato nel 2012, abbiamo elaborato delle linee guida per la conservazione e la caratterizzazione della biodiversità vegetale di interesse per l'agricoltura. Attraverso un'apposita legge nel 2015 abbiamo istituito l'anagrafe, il portale e la rete nazionale della biodiversità di interesse agricolo e alimentare. Per me rappresenta una delle più concrete eredità dell'Esposizione Universale di Milano, che, come ricorderete, l'Italia ha dedicato al tema Nutrire il pianeta, energie per la vita. Tra le altre azioni poste in essere, vorrei ricordare il sostegno agli agricoltori nei loro sforzi per conservare e utilizzare le risorse fitogenetiche in modo sostenibile. All'interno dei programmi di sviluppo rurale, con le misure agroambientali, supportiamo gli agricoltori custodi, ossia tutti quei soggetti che nell'ambito dell'azienda agricola si impegnano nella conservazione delle risorse genetiche di interesse alimentare ed agrario, soggette a rischio di estinzione o di erosione genetica. Tuteliamo il loro diritto e insieme il nostro patrimonio unico di biodiversità. Infine, ci siamo impegnati ad assicurare con continuità le risorse per finanziare le attività del trattato stesso. L'Italia, come Paese donatore, finora ha versato contributi volontari pari a 7,5 milioni di dollari nel Fondo di condivisione dei benefici, consentendo la realizzazione di progetti che coinvolgono gli agricoltori e le popolazioni locali in diverse parti del mondo per proteggere e utilizzare le risorse genetiche in maniera sostenibile. La crisi climatica ci chiama all'azione. Non possiamo restare inermi. Le risorse genetiche devono rappresentare uno strumento per fronteggiare i cambiamenti in atto. Sappiamo bene che esse stesse sono minacciate e ogni sforzo è necessario per preservarle e garantire l'adattamento ai nuovi scenari. Per questa ragione dobbiamo lavorare per promuovere la conservazione, la caratterizzazione e la diversificazione dei semi e delle piante e investire nell'innovazione tecnologica, promuovendo la resilienza e l'adattamento delle nuove varietà. Inoltre andrebbero promossi e incoraggiati i partenariati per consentire una più ampia distribuzione e un maggior uso del germoplasma vegetale. Altre azioni da porre in essere all'interno del trattato è la valorizzazione dei progetti finalizzati con il Fondo per la condivisione dei benefici. I progetti che realizziamo con queste risorse dovrebbero essere maggiormente incentrati sul tema della crisi climatica, sulla difesa delle colture dai rischi fitosanitari e soprattutto sulle esigenze dei piccoli agricoltori che contribuiscono enormemente alla custodia delle risorse genetiche e che sono i soggetti maggiormente esposti al rischio fame. Mi piacerebbe anche che fosse valorizzato il ruolo delle donne e delle attività che esso svolgono nel preservare l'agrobiodiversità. Ho apprezzato moltissimo la locandina di questa ottava sessione che mette in evidenza il rapporto tra le donne e la custodia delle risorse fitogenetiche. Per rendere più efficaci questi progetti si potrebbe pensare al coinvolgimento di altri organismi internazionali nella realizzazione degli stessi. Infine, dobbiamo continuare a lavorare per la conservazione e l'uso sostenibile delle risorse genetiche vegetali e vorrei ringraziare il segretario del Trattato per il programma di lavoro 2020-2023. Vorrei concludere il mio intervento augurando buon lavoro a tutti i delegati e delegate e auspicando il raggiungimento del consenso su vari punti previsti nell'agenda della settimana, con un equilibrato bilanciamento degli interessi contrapposti. Grazie e a tutti noi buon lavoro.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your continuing support for the international treaty and for taking the time to join us this morning, despite what I'm sure is a very, very heavy schedule. The treaty community certainly and deeply appreciates the support that the government of Italy has provided to the implementation of the treaty over the years, and we look forward to continuing and strengthening our important partnership. Before I invite the next speaker, we would like to show a very short video on the treaty prepared just for this session with a focus on some of the issues we'll be dealing with this week.
Have you ever stopped to wonder where the food on your plate came from? The fact is, it all starts with the seed. A seed that grows into a plant, which is harvested and cooked into a meal. Or a seed that grows into a plant that is eaten by an animal, that forms part of your meal. The food we eat all depends on seeds and plants. But did you know that thousands of the species and varieties of plants that fed our ancestors are no longer available? They're extinct and have been lost forever. Worse yet, we continue to lose more every day. This massive loss must be stopped. We must save the diversity of the source of our food supply before it dwindles further. This is where the FAO International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture plays a vital role. The International Treaty works around the world to save, to take care of, and to enable the sharing of the seeds and other plant genetic material that make up the plants that feed us all. Without the work of the International Treaty, the diversity of our crops would continue to die out, leaving more and more of us dependent on fewer and fewer food crops. Fortunately, over the last 15 years, the International Treaty has established the largest global exchange system for plant genetic material. A global information system with data about that material. A benefit-sharing fund that has helped over 1 million people. And a universal call for protecting traditional knowledge and the rights of smallholder farmers. Every day, the International Treaty works around the world to take care of the seeds that take care of us.
We'll keep playing that on a loop so we don't forget about what we're doing and why we're here. So next I would like to invite Ms. Maria Hage, the Executive Director of the Global Crop Diversity Trust, to take the floor. The Crop Trust is an essential element of the funding strategy of the treaty, and we enjoy a special relationship with the trust. It is also celebrating its 15th anniversary this year. Ms. Hage became the executive director of the Crop Trust in 2013, and sadly, she will be leaving us at the end of the year to join IFAD. But as sorry as we are to lose her from the Crop Trust, we're thrilled that she'll be staying in the broader treaty family. Thank you. Ms. Hage, you have the floor.
Thank you very, very much for those kind words, Madam Chair. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Crop Trust, it is a true honor and pleasure to address the 8th governing body meeting of the Plant Treaty and congratulate the treaty on its 15th anniversary. The importance of the Plant Treaty has never been greater. This is not a nicety to be said at a birthday party. It is absolutely not an exaggeration. The Plant Treaty has never been more important than it is today, and it will continue to be so in the years to come. The plants that feed us are increasingly struggling all around the world. Temperature increases, water is becoming scarce, salinity is spreading in important food-producing areas, the weather gets wilder and new diseases are emerging. The greatest threat to food security and a resilient agriculture is that the climate changes faster than the plants are able to adapt. Plants have, of course, always adapted, but now the pace of change is so fast that the plants and the farmers who grow them can't keep up. They need help. They need our help. This is why it is so important that the diversity of crops is safeguarded at local, national, and international level. We've long known how wise use of crop diversity can increase yields and improve yields. But we have also seen how we can increase nutritional value and make plants better suited for the crazy weather we are experiencing as we speak, and that most likely, increasingly, will be more difficult. And no country, no matter how mighty that country is, politically, militarily, or in any other way, is self-sufficient in the crop diversity it needs. We are all dependent on each other. And this is, of course, why the plant treaty is so fundamentally important. It's very hard to see how we will be able to sustainably feed a growing world population if we don't have a well-functioning plant treaty. The Crop Trust and others can do a lot to collect and safeguard crop diversity, but the diversity needs to be used, and used widely and urgently. And that's where the world really cannot manage without the plant treaty. The plant treaty is fundamentally important for the future of food and the future of agriculture. That's also why the plant treaty should be given much more attention from policymakers and business than it has been up to now. The future of food is quite simply dependent on a well-functioning plant treaty with a well-functioning access and benefit sharing system. On behalf of the Crop Trust Executive Board and the board chair, Sir Peter Crane, who unfortunately is unable to address you today, I'd like to express our strongest hope that this 8th session of the governing body faces up to the tremendous challenges that agriculture is facing in the time ahead, and that this meeting ends successfully. Governments in this room, contracting parties, have a huge responsibility to make wise decisions. NGOs and international organizations, as ourselves, have a responsibility to contribute. The Crop Trust is, as Madam Chair said, an essential element of the funding strategy of the plant treaty. We promise to do whatever we can to develop a cost-effective, rational global system for ex situ conservation and fund the system. We are impatient to reach our ultimate goals, but I am pleased to say that we are making good progress thanks to scientific expertise and, not the least, our donors who support our work in terms of projects as well as contributing to the endowment. We are profoundly proud to work very closely with the Plant Treaty Secretariat. We are grateful for all the advice and support you give us on a daily basis, and that we really couldn't manage without. So to Kent, to the Secretary of the Treaty and your team, thank you so much. And the Plant Treaty can always count on our wholehearted support. In the years to come, we as a global community has to produce more and more nutritious food. It has to be produced on less land, with less water, less pesticides, and less fertilizers. And production needs to give affordable food and it has to give decent income to farmers all across the world. This is just tremendously challenging. Seeds are miracles. It's amazing what seeds can do for humankind, but we need to protect them and use them effectively. It is our duty at this governing body meeting to help ensure the productive, healthy, equitable, resilient agricultural system that future generations will depend on. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a huge responsibility. Let's step up to the challenge. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Marie, thank you so much for sharing your ideas, your experience with us today, and for continuing to measure up and hold us accountable for what we do. I would now give the floor to Mr. Michael Keller, Executive Secretary of the International Seed Federation.
Thanks, Chair. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished guests. First of all, in the name of the private sector, happy birthday to the international treaty. At the same time, the treaty is facing a critical time as it celebrates its 15th anniversary. The treaty is amongst the first instruments that were able to gather many countries and organizations behind a common aim, ensuring that plant genetic resources of economic and or social interest, particularly for agriculture, will be explored, preserved, evaluated, and made available for plant breeding and scientific purposes. The seed sector, aware of its responsibility as a provider of a critical input, many people are saying the most critical input in sustainable agriculture production, has been involved as an active participant since the very beginning on the discussions in the 80s. The public and private sector has always seen conservation and use of genetic resources as highly critical. Genetic resources which will not circulate broadly will be not only underused, but they will be the ones which will be at risk for being lost. Using broadly genetic resources is the best way to conserve them. Together, we should continue to work to sustain crop diversity and to breed improved varieties that addresses the nutritional and economic challenges of current and future generations. The seed sector exists and exists only because we collaborate and serve the needs of farmers by offering farmers value-adding choices. We continue to invest in the development of diverse seed options for farmers so that farmers have varieties that best suit their needs. In this very regional and local way, we all collaborate in our shared goal, which is food security and sustainable agriculture. You have many important topics to discuss this week, including farmers' rights, sustainable use of plant genetic resources, the funding strategy, and enhancing the multilateral system of access and benefit sharing. Over the last 6 years, including the last biennium, the private sector has been an active contributor to all these discussions. We made submissions to serve the many and not the few. The commitment of the seed sector to make the international treaty work remains as strong today as it was and it has always been. Let's use this week of negotiations as an opportunity to move forward together, taking into account the diversity of users from private and public sector and the needs of the world's farmers. As was stated 15 years ago people are at the core of multilateralism. And it is this kind of collective and cooperative action oriented towards the attainment of common goals that the global crisis facing the 21st century. I would like to finish with a quote of Simon Groth, World Food Prize of this year. A farmer is emotionally tied to his seed supplier because this determines the quality of his crop. Let us collaborate and step forward together in a more trustful relationship, like so many farmers and seed suppliers are doing it on the ground everywhere in the world on a day-to-day basis. Seed is life. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Keller, for the strong support and active engagement of the private sector in the treaty, and we look forward to working with you as we go forward. In 2017, the French Interprofessional Organization for Seeds and Plants announced that it will make an annual contribution of €175,000 to the Benefit Sharing Fund of the International Treaty. It has since been fulfilling this commitment. I would now like to invite Mr. Francois Bourgault, on behalf of Mr. Francois Dupré, President of the organization, to share their motivation for this very welcome gesture.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Madame la Directrice adjointe de la FAO, Monsieur le Ministre de l'Agriculture et du Bien-être des agriculteurs de l'Inde, Monsieur le Secrétaire général, chers collègues, c'est un grand honneur pour moi de pouvoir vous transmettre les quelques mots que le président de l'interprofession française des semences, le GNIS, aurait souhaité prononcer devant vous à l'occasion de cette importante session de votre organe directeur qui est aussi le 15e anniversaire du traité. En instaurant un système multilatéral facilitant l'accès des agriculteurs et des sélectionneurs du monde entier aux ressources génétiques et un partage des avantages qui sont tirés de ces ressources, vous avez potentiellement contribué à sécuriser l'agriculture et l'alimentation de demain. Cet accès aux ressources génétiques est essentiel. C'est pourquoi l'interprofession a sollicité les sélectionneurs français publics et privés qui ont été parmi les premiers en 2009 à mettre des collections privées dans le système multilatéral, en l'occurrence 1784 blés et 533 maïs, représentatifs de la spécificité de la biodiversité française. Si l'accès aux ressources génétiques est nécessaire, bien évidemment leur conservation et leur caractérisation sont essentielles. C'est pour cela que le GNIS a décidé en 2017 d'apporter une contribution financière aux collections nationales françaises et à votre fonds fiduciaire pour le partage des avantages. Cette contribution de 175 000 € est modeste, même si, après juste 2 ans, elle est déjà la plus importante contribution privée. Elle a surtout l'avantage de sa prévisibilité, puisqu'elle n'a pas de terme à ce jour. Que ce soit au niveau français comme au niveau international, nous espérons que d'autres acteurs, notamment de l'agroalimentaire, contribueront dans le futur à votre travail. Si l'accès et le partage des avantages monétaires et non monétaires sont essentiels, la capacité à valoriser ces ressources l'est tout autant. Nous renforçons régulièrement nos actions de partage des avantages non monétaires, que sont notamment l'appui aux associations semencières nationales et continentales et nos actions de coopération avec les États en matière de protection des obtentions végétales et en matière de réglementation. Enfin, nous faisons tout cela en étroite collaboration avec les agriculteurs qui sont présents dans notre interprofession, car ils sont au cœur de notre sécurité alimentaire. En conclusion, je voudrais insister sur l'importance de vos travaux sur l'amélioration du système multilatéral. L'agriculture de demain sera encore plus dépendante de nos progrès dans l'amélioration des plantes. L'accès aux ressources génétiques et à la biodiversité actuellement disponibles est pour cela absolument essentiel et votre système multilatéral a fait la preuve de son efficacité. S'il est nécessaire d'améliorer la capacité de tous à utiliser ces ressources, il faut rester attentif à ne pas remettre en cause l'accès facilité qui a été permis par ce système multilatéral. En conclusion, je vous remercie encore de votre invitation et vous assure que, quels que soient les résultats de vos travaux, que nous souhaitons cependant fructueux, notre interprofession française continuera d'appuyer autant qu'elle le peut vos actions. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mr. Burgo, for your address and for the support of your organization for the work of the treaty. We would like to now invite Ms. Evelyn Okoth, a Kenyan farmer and a recipient of funding through one of the projects funded by the Benefit Sharing Fund of the International Treaty. She's kindly joined us here today right from the airport. As always, travel is challenging, to share her impressions of one of the treaty's operational mechanisms, the Benefit Sharing Fund. Welcome, Ms. Okoth. Please, you have the floor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Evelyn Okoth, a wife, a mother, a farmer from a tiny little village in Nyando, Kenya. I am here today on behalf of thousands of farmers from Nyando who have benefited and continue to benefit from plant genetic resources held and conserved in situ and ex situ through various projects of Treaty's Benefit Sharing Fund. I grew up seeing my parents selecting and conserving certain varieties of crops and seeds for next season. Despite availability of hybrids, they always went for their saved seeds season after season. I thought that we could not afford buying and well-packaged hybrid seeds, but when I grew up and also thanks to this project, I understood why my parents always went for local varieties. Nyando, where I come from, is located in western region of Kenya and has been for the past 15 years ravaged by both extreme causes of droughts and floods and shorter rainy seasons. As a result of this, there have been a rise in new pests and diseases, loss of genetic diversity, low productivity, and food insecurity. And today I come here to share good news with you. In 2016, a new project on promoting open source seed system for climate change adaptation in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania was introduced in my village by Biodiversity International and Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Institute, sponsored by Benefit Sharing Fund and of the Food and Agriculture Organization and the European Union. Through this project, we received 163 sorghum and 68 millet varieties associations from the National Gene Banks of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Together with partners from breeding programs and the Agricultural Research Institute, we tested these varieties and selected over 14 sorghum and 18 millet varieties that are suitable for our changing climate and related challenges. This has helped us to diversify varieties in our farms, and we are now able to produce more food. We are also grateful to have received various capacity building sessions to enable us select and produce quality seeds, as well as conserve and use the diversity of plant genetic resource for food and agriculture. Thanks to the project, we now have a community seed bank where we conserve over 180 varieties of sorghum, 90 varieties of millet, 40 varieties of beans, and 15 varieties of local traditional vegetables. Thanks to the seed bank, over 1,000 farmers from 8 villages and 2 counties in Western Kenya, that is Kisumu County and Kericho County, had allowed farmers to access good quality seeds. Through the project, we also had exchange visits with farmers in Uganda, where we had a training on seed business management and gender action learning in seed system to involve more women in seed production and conservation. We as farmers have also come to understand that the international treaty and the multilateral system of access and benefit sharing does indeed work for the benefit of farmers like me. Thank you, FAO and the EU for the funds, and thank you, Biodiversity International and your partners for finally understanding and promoting what we prefer and not you thought we needed. Thank you for the respecting our right to choose our own seeds and food. I welcome all of you to Nyando, Western Kenya, to see and appreciate the good work you have started with us, the transformation that you are bringing in my society, the homesteads which lives you are positively touching and changing nutritionally, and the improved adaptability to the climate change. On behalf of the farmers in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, we say thank you for your endless efforts and time spent with us. And we hope that we are going to work more with all of you and support your work as primary partners in promoting adaptation of these innovations. We hope that more funds will be available to enable scaling up these activities to many other regions. Thank you for this opportunity. And always remember, happy farmer builds a healthy nation that creates a peaceful world. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming this long way, but particularly thank you for inspiring us and for your own perseverance in the long term. And yes, I think we can all dedicate ourselves to working toward your vision, which is a wonderful one. Thank you. As we turn to slightly next session, we're very pleased to have with us today Sir Robert Watson, the former chair of the IPBES, I already read the whole name, and the IPCC. He will deliver our keynote address based on his experience and knowledge from chairing both these august scientific bodies, but also in fulfilling the assessments that they undertake time and again, and particularly how they relate to biodiversity in agriculture and plant genetic resources in particular. Sir Bob, the floor is yours.
Well, the main thing is to say thank you for inviting me. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here today to talk about the results from the latest global assessment, IPBES. And as you've already heard from all of the speakers today, we've got a trio of issues: climate change, biodiversity, and agriculture, food security. And so the key question is, where are we? Well, 75% of our land, ice-free land, has already been significantly transformed, mainly due to agricultural practices. And by 2050, we project 90% of the land will be transformed. 66% of the oceans are already in poor shape. They're warming, they're acidifying, and they're being polluted. We've already lost 85% of our wetlands, which is crucial for biodiversity, but also crucial for water purification. These transformations of our land led to one conclusion, and that is 1 million species, 500,000 plants and animals, 500,000 insects are at risk of extinction in the coming decades to 2 to 3 centuries. Although all of those can, or most of those, can be saved if we start to conserve biodiversity. And that's 1 million out of a number of 8 million. How did we come to that number? On the screens, what you will see is the information from the IUCN Red List. They look at a whole range of classified species, whether it be fish, whether it be birds, dragonflies, etc. And they do a careful analysis of to what degree are these species completely saved. Really no concern, or not even threatened. And they're in green and yellow, dark yellow. In the light yellow, the orange and the red are those percentage of the species in each category that are either vulnerable, endangered, or critically endangered, or in black, already extinct. It's from this information that we scaled up globally that 1 million species are at risk. However, we are not in the 6th mass extinction. In all of the previous mass extinctions, we lost 75% of all species, 75. Even if we lost all 1 million species, which I would hope we definitely will not, we would be losing about 12 to 15% of our species, not 75. Clearly, however, we are losing species far faster than the rate of natural evolution. We humans are adversely affecting our natural world. This simply shows you what's happened since 1500 to a range of species, amphibians, mammals, birds, and as you can see, especially since 1900, or you could say 1800, a significant increase in the rate of about up to 2%. So far we have lost between 1 and 2% of many of our species, although far more are indeed threatened with extinction. The question is, why? Well, what we're focused on is provisioning food, fibre, energy and medicines, all things that we need, desperately need. Unfortunately, where we've produced our food, our fibre, our energy, has come at the expense of the regulating services, pollination services, which of course are critical for food production, regulating climate, regulating air pollution, regulating floods and droughts. We've also adversely affected the cultural services, the inspiration that we get from nature, the way that we have sense of place, our identity with nature. So what we've focused on, as we need to, is food production, fibre production. These have market value. We buy and sell them in the marketplace. What's happened, however, is the regulating services, the cultural services that don't have direct market value, but have huge non-market value and social value, they've been undermined, basically. So we clearly need to continue to produce food, but we need to do it in a more sustainable manner. There's no questions we have increased our capacity to grow food, to fish, in the last many decades. Essential, of course, for food security. And indeed, the value of crop production has tripled since 1970. The timber harvest has gone up by almost 45%. And of course, these two sectors produce a lot of livelihoods, especially for the poor in developing countries. However, we're seeing some of the regulating services directly of value to agriculture being undermined. Soil organic carbon, pollinator diversity, not just the total number of pollinators, but what is crucial for productivity is the diversity of pollinators. And indeed, in our land report, as well as our global report, we deduced that 23% of global terrestrial area has been degraded to reduce productivity, and somewhere between $235 and $577 billion worth of global crop are at risk due to a loss of pollinator diversity. This just shows you, and you can't read it, especially on this screen, the 18 different nature's contributions for people, otherwise known as ecosystem services. all you have to look at is the direction of the arrows. And as you can see, nearly all of the arrows are either going vertically down or down at 45 degrees. All of these services are being degraded. Even on food production, one of them is going up, terrestrial production, the other is going down, open ocean fishing. So, what's the problem? And you've actually heard it already from many today. We're globally losing local varieties and breeds of domesticated plants and animals. And indeed, this loss of genetic diversity, this loss of species diversity, does pose a serious risk to global food security. You've already heard that from the previous speakers. Why? It undermines the resilience of many of our agricultural systems to the threats of pests, pathogens, and what you've heard this morning, threats of climate change. Fewer and fewer breeds and varieties are being cultivated or raised, traded, etc. And we're using less and less of that diversity, putting agriculture at risk in the long term. By 2016, 559 out of 6,190 domesticated breeds of mammals that we've used for food now have already become extinct, and another 1,000 are threatened, basically. Clearly, this just schematically shows, go back one. This schematically shows what's at risk. And in red, it's what are the animals and plants at risk. And as you can see, it's about 30% of the pie. About 15% of the pie has already gone extinct. The green is what is not at risk. And a lot, we actually just don't know if they're at risk or not. So clearly, your work is absolutely essential, and the role of indigenous and local peoples and the local farmers absolutely critical to maintain variety and genetic diversity. So the question is, why are we losing this? Well, the indirect drivers that don't directly affect biodiversity are demographic, more people, socio-cultural, economic and technological. People are becoming wealthier, thank goodness, all over the world, although, of course, still a lot of very hungry and poor people. But the combination of demographic change, growth, and economic growth means there's more demand for food, for water, for energy, and that's driving the way we produce our food. We've got major institutional and governance issues, and we're seeing conflicts and epidemics around the world. But what are the direct drivers? Well, the major direct driver in the last 50 years has been land and sea use change. We've converted our forests, our mangroves, our grasslands to agricultural systems or monoculture forests. The second one is overexploitation, especially in the oceans. We've overfished most of the world's oceans. Thank goodness aquaculture is partly compensating for this loss of marine fish. The third is climate change, both on land and in water, followed by invasive species and by pollution. So to date, climate change has not been the dominant driver, but in the coming decades, climate change is likely to become as or more important than land and sea use change, and as or more important than exploitation. Therefore, it's absolutely critical that we meet the Paris Climate Accord to try and limit human-induced climate change to no more than 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius relative to pre-industrial. However, the sad news is the current pledges under the Paris Agreement are totally inadequate to put us on a pathway of 1.5 to 2. They are currently putting us on a pathway of 3 to 4 degrees Celsius. We've already seen a 1 degree change in global mean surface temperature with adverse effects on biodiversity, food security, water security, human security across the world. A 3 or 4 degree world would really have adverse consequences, especially on poor people in developing countries. Now, nature-based solutions can offer cost-effective mitigation and adaptation and be good for biodiversity. However, one has to be careful. There are trade-offs. Large-scale monoculture bioenergy and afforestation can be negative to biodiversity and, if encroaching on arable land, be negative for food security. Clearly, indigenous and local communities play a very, very critical role. Domesticating plants, domesticating animals, restoration, habitat management. They play an absolutely critical role that has been largely undervalued to date. Globally, they occupy 25% of the land that we care about, 35% of conserved ecosystems and 35% of protected areas. They play a crucial role in protected areas. They play a key role, as you know better than me, on agrobiodiversity. Nature is declining less on indigenous lands, but it is still declining. And unfortunately, 72% of all indicators show biodiversity is under threat due to the way that we are deforesting, putting roads through crucial ecosystems. So the question is, where are we with respect to the 20 Aichi targets agreed in 2010 by all governments of the world? And where are we on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals approved by all governments? Well, the sad situation is we're not in very good shape. We looked at the progress towards the Aichi targets. We don't believe that any will be met by most countries of the world, developed and developing. And when you look at them, many we've made poor progress, and in fact some we've gone backwards. We have made progress, moderate progress, in a number of them. So red is really bad, yellow is still not very good, but some progress. Green looks good, although we probably still won't meet the targets of the green ones. Up there we have protected areas is in good shape. The problem is much of the most important biodiversity in the world is not in protected areas today. Many of the protected areas are paper parks and they're not well protected. And third, almost none of them have been designed to take into account climate change, where fauna and flora will move polewards or upwards in elevation. So we've got a major challenge. The meeting next year, the COP meeting in China, it is crucial that one understands why we're not making progress on the Aichi targets as we try and develop more ambitious targets for the future. The key point is that climate change and biodiversity are, of course, environmental issues, but they're much more. They're development issues. They affect food security, water security, human health. They're economic issues. Climate change comes at significant economic cost, and biodiversity, natural capital, has real economic value. They're security issues. It's the poor that are most vulnerable, and we're seeing the loss of natural resources is causing conflict in some parts of the world. They're clearly ethical issues. It's the poor that are most affected. They're moral issues. We have no right as humans to destroy nature, and they're critically inter- and intra-generational equity issues. So what's happening? Well, the trouble is, as we change our Earth's climate, as we lose biodiversity, it literally undermines every single one of the Sustainable Development Goals. If we don't get to grips with climate change and loss of biodiversity, we will not achieve any of the SDGs, and the aspiration of leaving nobody behind will be lost. And this just simply shows you in red all the arrows going down that it truly undermines some of the SDGs. The yellow says there's some support, but not enough to achieve them. This you can't really see. It comes from an IPCC assessment, And what it really simply shows you is effectively that water security in dry lands, the top right, we're already threatening. And if we see 2 or 3 degree temperature change, we're in real trouble. Soil erosion is already being affected by climate change. And if we get to 2 or 3 degrees Celsius, it also major problems. Vegetation loss the same. All these which you can't read, but I will leave the PowerPoint behind and put it, hopefully it'll be put on the FAO website. It literally shows you that even at a 1 degree change, we're threatening most of the things we care about. And at a 3 to 4 degree change, we're in very, very serious trouble. What this simply shows you is with respect to fisheries, the middle is the animal biomass and green base, sorry, let me say that again. The middle is the ocean biomass, and what you see in yellow is where ocean biomass will be significantly reduced by climate change. The purple is where it increases, so you can see the polar regions do relatively well, but all of the equatorial and mid-latitudes are in trouble. And the bottom one in orange is where fisheries is expected to go down significantly unless it's purple. And what you see is, other than the Arctic region, all of these projections, this one from IPCC is fishery catch will go down everywhere other than the Arctic region. So what do we need? We need rapid transformation. We need rapid transformation of our systems. We need bold action. We have the knowledge and we have the tools. We need better deployment and implementation. We've got many sectors where we are playing around with very good practices, but they're not at the scale we need. We need in the food product, we need cross-sectoral, integrated management at all levels, from local to national to regional to global. There is no dichotomy between food production and our conservation goals, as long as we use agroecological practices, as long as we reduce food waste. For sustainable fisheries, we need integrated management, actually on the land and in the oceans. We need good land-based climate change mitigation, but we need to recognise synergies and trade-offs. And we need to manage nature in our cities much more sustainably. So what do we need with respect to agriculture? Well, you know this better than me. We need multifunctional landscape planning and cross-sectoral integrated management. We need precision agriculture, integrated pest and nutrient management, agroecological practices, organic farming, soil and water conservation practices, agroforestry, improved animal welfare. In the oceans, we badly need to rebuild overfished stocks, and that's where marine protected areas can really play an important role. And we've clearly got to reduce land-based pollution, including that of plastics. We basically need to make sure that we have an adaptive capacity for our agricultural systems for food securities. That means, and we've already heard it this morning already, we need to conserve and safeguard the diversity of genes, varieties, cultivars, breeds, land races and species. We need to select and breed new varieties that will meet the challenge of environmental changes in the future, especially climate change. We need heat stress, drought stress, salinity tolerance, and pest and pathogen resistance. We need to clearly promote food waste. 30 to 40% of food is wasted in both developed and developing countries. Promote healthy diets and eliminate distortionary agricultural and fishing subsidies and turn those into incentives for sustainable production. And in conclusion, the current trend in both climate change and in biodiversity is unsustainable. We cannot continue to lose species, degrade our ecosystems, lose our ecosystem services. Business as usual is not acceptable. We need transformational change. We need to tackle the direct and indirect drivers of biodiversity loss and climate change. We need to address climate change and biodiversity together as a single issue, not as two separable issues. We need to scale up and replicate successful projects that are occurring in all parts of the world. We need, as I've already said, cross-sectoral actions. We need to evolve our economic and financial systems, eliminate harmful subsidies, incorporate natural capital into national accounts. We need to provide incentives to stimulate sustainable production and consumption, embrace a circular economy, and lastly, we must have inclusive governance structures. Governments need to work together. They need to work together with the private sector, with civil society, and with indigenous and local people. The problem is today there is a lack of trust among governments, a lack of trust between governments and the private sector, a lack of trust with the NGOs. We must rebuild trust. We need inclusive government systems, and with that, we can have a viable agricultural system without adversely affecting either biodiversity or climate change. Thank you.
Sir Robert, thank you. As always, an amazing and yet clear, although fast, tour of the world in which we find ourselves together. Again, the context is, thank you. The context is very critical, and as always, you set it out, the importance of biodiversity, the importance of indigenous and local communities, of their knowledge. We have the other tools available, both scientific as well as ILK, and you've given us a lot to think about, but also an incredibly daunting task. The good thing is you've also pointed out we're all in this together, and we're in it together with nature. So thank you again. So in recognition of the very close linkages we have between the treaty and the Commission on Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture, I am delighted to give the floor to Ms. Irene Hoffman, the Secretary of the Commission.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues and friends. I wish to thank Kent for giving me the opportunity to deliver a few opening remarks at this very critical governing body meeting and also the occasion of the 15th anniversary. Following on Sir Bob Watson's presentation, this year saw also the launch of two first ever country-driven assessments undertaken by the Commission: the State of the World's Biodiversity for Food and Agriculture and the State of the World's Aquatic Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. The report on the state of the world's biodiversity for food and agriculture, which involved more than 1,500 individuals, reports from 91 countries and from 27 international organizations, analyzes the current state and trend of biodiversity for food and agriculture and the drivers affecting it. Since its launch, the report has attracted worldwide media attention. During the first week alone, we had over 530 articles in the world's major news outlets, and we see it now being picked up in research findings and other larger studies. The report throws a new light on the interdependence of the different sectors of genetic resources and biodiversity for food and agriculture. Biodiversity, as was already mentioned by previous speakers, is integral to ecosystem health, essential to increasing the resilience of food production and necessary for livelihoods. More than 75% of the world's food crops depend to some extent on pollination. Soil organisms and natural enemies of plants play a crucial role in crop production. The report has also shown that the way we grow food has major implications on food systems and on all biodiversity. Management practices and land use changes associated with food and agriculture practices are causing pollution, overuse of external inputs, and overexploitation. The report shows that management practices that rely on the management of abundant and diverse biodiversity communities are attracting growing interest in many cases and are becoming more widely adopted. The report relies in significant parts on other global assessments prepared by the Commission, including the second State of the World Plants Genetic Resources that was launched in 2010. Global assessments play a key role for the Commission's role, and in the case of assessments on plant genetic resources, also for the work of the treaty. The findings, for example, of the State of the World's Biodiversity for Food and Agriculture are very relevant to the implementation of the treaty, especially its Articles 6 and 5. Preparations of the third report on the state of the world's plant genetic resources are underway. FAO members will soon be invited to report through the VIEWS system on the status and trends of their plant genetic resources and on activities taken to implement the second Global Plan of Action. I wish to invite contracting parties of the treaty to contribute to the third State of the World report and actively and enthusiastically provide data as they already contributed to the previous version of this report. I would also like to invite contracting parties to contribute to the Commission's work towards the development of a follow-up policy response to the findings of the State of the World's Biodiversity for Food and Agriculture. This will not only highlight the concrete needs and actions to be taken, but also to increase awareness among policymakers and relevant stakeholders of the critical importance of regulating and supporting ecosystem services and biodiversity for food and agriculture, including plant genetic resources. The continued collaboration between the Commission and the treaty on matters of common interest is of vital importance if we are to meet the expectations of our parties and members. Excellencies, in moving forward, I will leave you with two tiny quotes. As Helen Keller once said, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." We also heard a proverb at the 15th anniversary celebration on Saturday that said, "Yesterday's utopia can become today's reality." I wish you a successful meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Irene, and thank you for your dedication and for keeping the Commission very closely aligned with the treaty and the good work, and we look forward to working in both with you. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce and give the floor to the Secretary of the International Treaty, Mr. Kent Nkosi, for his address.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your Excellencies, the Assistant Director General, Mr. Castro, Sir Bob Watson, my colleague, Irene Hoffman, Evelyn, and thank you very much for making the trip to join us this morning. As I indicated during our special event on Saturday, this week we celebrate the women farmers who are the custodians of the seeds where it all starts from. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by thanking the honorable ministers that joined us this morning for making out the time, both to travel but also out of their very heavy schedule to come and join and honor this occasion. It is a clear indication and it's a testimony of the importance and gravity of the issues before us and why we are here today. It is also a clear indication of the commitment of their respective governments to the international treaty and what it stands for. I would also like to thank FAO management for the very significant support that it has continued to provide me, the Secretariat, and our work for you. Distinguished delegates, as we start this 8th session of the governing body of the International Treaty, let us do so in the spirit of solidarity and common good that laid the foundation for the establishment of the International Treaty. The fact is that we have achieved so much in just 15 years since the treaty entered into force. Indeed, we have come a long way. And now we need to look forward towards the future and make decisions that will help us move forward in order to stay current and relevant. As you've heard from many speakers this morning, the world is facing massive challenges from a range of issues, including increasing hunger, climate change, precarious environmental challenges, and also changes in the global policy and political landscape. However, there are also opportunities to address them, arising both from scientific advances as well as the political space that institutions like the International Treaty provide for international cooperation and decision-making. The treaty is well positioned to contribute to addressing many of these challenges, and as well as emerging challenges, and then optimizing the opportunities that have arisen from recent developments. However, in order to do so, we look to this session of the governing body to guide the international treaty towards a more inclusive and stable path by continuing to enhance the list of crops covered by Annex 1 of the treaty and by providing a reliable base for financial resources to allow the international treaty to function effectively and to remain a leader in the governance of agricultural biodiversity. The challenge facing us is to maintain the momentum we built over the past 15 years and continue making meaningful contributions towards global food security, sustainable agriculture, and achieving the goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We just need to keep in mind our common interests, our undeniable interdependence, and arrive at mutually beneficial compromises for the common good of all. A number of issues before us this week are particularly challenging, but if we move together forward in the spirit of interdependency and cooperation that underpin the treaty, then I am confident that we can resolve any differences and together emerge a more dynamic and stronger whole. Thank you very much.
Mr. Secretary, Kent, thank you so very much. Do you want to do your presentation now or later? Okay, we'll do it later. So I thank all of our distinguished speakers for sharing their ideas and their vision at this opening ceremony. It will be included in the appendix to our report at the end of the session. And I'd like to now suspend the proceedings for a few minutes to allow all of our guests to depart and also to rearrange things here on the podium. So give us a few minutes. Thank you.